Good morning. Hang on, let me just check things. Yep. Good. Gosh, I am, everything's going so well, I'm almost worried. There we go. I actually have things working, and that makes me very nervous because that means now, I have to get better at understanding or believing that things can go well. I can't always be assuming and preparing for the worst all the time. Everything's going smoothly. Let's wait and see, shall we? We're going to see. We'll see what happens. There'll be a CPU spike or something that fucks everything up. You wait. You watch. Let's see. Okay, hello. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's been such a big week. Oh, hang on. Before I start, I've committed to doing an actual schedule. I have to do it. I have to start just doing it twice a week, Tuesday, Thursday. Those are the two best days for me until further notice, until I know what my schedule is when it comes to law school. But other than that, I have blocked out time. Every year I try to do time blocking and it just falls apart. Give it a month. Give it a couple of weeks. I'll lose momentum and end up in reactive mode again because it's just one of those things where when you're wearing so many hats, you know, things fall away. But I'll do my best. You get to see someone who's always doing their best, and that's the main thing. I'm always fighting myself, but I'm always trying, and that's the main thing. So Tuesday mornings, I think for the US, maybe a little earlier than this morning, but I'm just trying to get into a new routine, and maybe sort of afternoon for Thursdays, but you know, because I don't want to ignore Europe and the UK, because I've got people in the UK who might want to watch. But you know, at the end of the day, there's still I can't cater to everyone living in this time zone. My whole career has been meetings with global teams in the EU and the US. And, you know, it's resulted in me having to get up at 2 a.m. Like, you can't keep everyone happy. So, and it's not like I have a massive audience anyway. So you can watch the replay, and I am going to try and do more clips, but that is definitely not something that fits well into my routine. But I am going to try and pay someone to do clips at least. That's one of the things that I have let slide because I never get time. I'm happy if you're interested in earning some money. Like, you know, the budget's not huge. I wish I could pay more, but I also don't believe in not paying. But if you want to see me as a project and exchange hands and help me grow and all that, exchange resources and skills, and you know, I can mentor you in my area, and you want to help me out, I'll still pay you. There will still be money, and it will still be fair. But I'll put it out to the market to decide, and you know, let me know your rates and whether you want to kind of turn me into something. Go for it, okay? I'm never going to do it. I'm never going to edit my shit. Okay, so that's just a fact. Too busy, got too many things to do, and editing takes days, and it's just not something. First of all, something that I like, and second of all, something that I have bandwidth for. I just don't have bandwidth for it. So that said, I'm going to be scheduling streams from Tuesday to Thursday. Not looking to grow per se. This is not what I do. This is part of such a small part of what I do. And that's going to get even wider in scope in the year as I take on more speaking gigs, more panel speaking gigs. As I do more panel work, a lot of it is speaking work. I've been, you know, approached by various people to do speaking work, and I've been sort of turning that down because I didn't want to do it. But I have kind of had to accept that. And this actually leads into what I'm talking about today, as always, which is that if you go back through all of my streams, you'll see that I'm right. Like, I've got an extremely high strike rate when it comes to being right. Sometimes right, but technically wrong, because I haven't had all of the information. But for the most part, you know, my instincts are good. But the problem with having instincts and saying things is that you need to be on record saying it. And so turning down guest writing gigs and speaking gigs, you know, I turn those down a lot. And mostly because it hasn't really been something that I seek. But people keep coming to me and asking me to do it. And so, believe it or not, high quality. Can you tell I'm on, like, not on as many meds as I was last time I streamed, so that's good. But anyway, but people do keep like approaching me to be on, especially around ethical AI, around explaining AI to normies, around strategy, around the legal framework, people, even agencies wanting legal advice. So, you know, I can still consult, even though I'm not a lawyer yet. This year I am, but even though I'm not a lawyer yet, I can still consult. So I'm sort of just rebuilding, sort of working through that. And I have to, you know, the universe does come to you and tell you over and over and over again, you know, you should be speaking. You should be going on stage, even though this is, you get what I mean? Okay, I'm more polished. This is just more rambling, but I'll get better. But I have also had to accept that there's things that I want to do that I can't do, that I need to pay someone to do. I'm not necessarily in the position to pay people just, you know, like full rates as much as I would love to. But, you know, there's people that are wanting to learn editing and practice editing and get better at those workflows and stuff. I'm difficult to edit. So if you want to, you know, I've worked for free to get more work I don't like this exposure thing, but if you want to have a go, and I will pay you a bit of money. Okay, I do have some. But so hit me up if you do have that. So I am looking, and I would prefer to use my network or someone who watches me and kind of understands what I'm about, rather than Yeah. Anyway, my son's offered, but I don't think he's far removed enough from it. I'm still his mum. I don't think he wants to do that. Well, because he does YouTube as well. So, and he's more passionate about the editing and stuff. I hate it. It's not about not knowing or anything. I just don't like it. I find it boring. So anyway, that's what markets are for. Everyone specializes in the things that they want to do, and it's not what I want to do. So, but it's been part of the reason I did, touch on this at the last stream, which is that everything is just collapsing, for lack of a better word, in such a spectacular fashion that, and again, there's the perception of everything collapsing. I think, things are more stable than I think you realize. But there's a lot of drama, okay? And a lot of that is because, the world's biggest walking Marilyn Monroe quote in the form of Elon Musk is sort of, creating a lot of drama and spectacle on an app that used to be influential, okay? Now, I think it's still influential, but in a different way. Because I think people are still adjusting to how information spreads on that platform without necessarily adapting to the, misinformation hellscape that it creates. Now, a lot of the problems with X have existed with Twitter since the beginning, okay? Like false information, how it spreads. Like, this is widely researched stuff, okay? Filter bubbles, nothing. I've gone over this stuff at length over the years. It's to the point where it's almost cliche. If you're not across the filter bubble concerns or, this surface level sort of assessment that you hear other people talking about, that's part of it. Okay. So Twitter has created some of this stuff, but what we're seeing with, under Elon Musk's ownership is a new type of problem that's not necessarily what you think it is. Okay, I'm again. Let me warm up a bit. Let me talk. Let me just consult my water bottle. It's thirsty work. It's shifting, but in a way that you wouldn't expect. And a classic example of that, because I find myself, I say this every time, like Twitter is a place where people go for self-harm. Like, I don't know why nobody who is, nobody who's normal would put up with the shit that you see on X anymore. Okay, let's be honest. It's not healthy. Okay. But there is no such thing really as a healthy internet that is honest, that is truthful, and that resembles sort of human communication. Okay, so there's that. So there is no such thing. I think this idea that there is some magical, healthy, safe social network is your reasoning from that's a faulty premise, okay? So all of the people who are ambitiously trying to control and curate and ban people and enforce terms of service and all of that sort of stuff, the fact is bad actors will always be 10 steps ahead of everyone else, okay? Whether it is scams, whether it is platform manipulation, whether it is disinformation and misinformation, whether it is mass reporting for suppressing people. They're people who they've got, scam. If you want to scam people and you've got the resources to do so, it is almost trivial technically to do so. Okay. Because a lot of these things operate on human biases. There's nothing you can really do. And if you're trying to control discourse and you're trying to sanitize it and you're trying to make it safe, again, generally, okay, if you're oriented towards creating safe spaces, okay, you are going to sacrifice speech, you are going to sacrifice experience, and there's always going to be false positives. Now, one area, and you know, the main theme of this stream is I think it's a good opportunity to kind of explain a little bit about how AI, which is large language models. AI is a, you know, general stupid thing that doesn't exist, okay? But large language models and generative AI exist underneath that broad thing of AI, okay? But I'm going to explain, because basically what happened was X made Grok, which was X's version, or XAI's version, all these fucking things, XAI's version of ChatGPT, effectively available to every X user. So it wasn't just a premium feature, it was available to everyone. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I was sitting there going, well, a good use case for it is people checking whether tweets have a point, okay, or steel manning it, or if someone says something, because one of my ongoing frustrations with social media in general is the fact that, you know, a good half of Americans can't read above a 6th grade level. And so that is apparently my problem as someone who can, and I constantly have to be on the fucking defensive, and I end up getting angry all day, every day, because I have to deal with fucking idiots. And I pray and thank God for the fact that I'm shadow banned, because then I don't have to deal with fuckwits all day, every day. I already do. Deliberate misunderstanding. So I thought, see, this was my mistake that I made, okay? This is one of the faults. I'm right a lot of the time, but one of the few mistakes that I made and always make is believing the best of people, okay? I have this terribly naive view of human nature. I believe, I do, I have to. I feel like it's something that I choose to believe, and I have to believe, because the alternative is just, which is that people are good, and if you give them the right tools and the right systems and the right choice, you know, you set things up in a way where people will behave in the right way. They will, most of them will do that, okay? I still believe that. I also don't believe, and this is why I am a socialist, right? Whatever flavor of that you want to impose on me, loosely, is because I do believe that socialism as an economic system gives people the opportunity to be better, the opportunity to treat each other better. And I don't think that you even can know who's good or evil if they are living within a system that incentivizes selfishness and, you know, dog eat dog and certain behaviors, and has all of the wrong incentives. If you've got a structure that incentivizes being horrible, then people aren't necessarily to blame for participating in that structure to survive. And so I believe that as a baseline, socialism gives people the opportunity to flourish and be who they really are, okay? Now, for better or worse, again, that's a naive view, obviously, because there are people who are pathological in various ways and evil, but I think most people are good, okay? And they have not, and especially at the moment when we're dealing with what is a rather extreme end stage, a crumbling version of capitalism, it's not necessarily fair to be judging individuals on their behavior, because you can't have it both ways. You can't be doing structural analysis of systems and blaming systems, and then turning around and blaming individuals for behavior. You can't have it. Those are incompatible things. You change the system and you set up the structures to incentivize the right behaviors, then you assess people's character, okay? People put the cart before the horse. And again, that's inherently right-wing to do that. Hello, United States leftists. Hello. Lack of structure. Structure used conveniently rather than actually as an approach. But anyway, that's moving on. So that's... But that's one of my, blind spots when it comes to people, is that belief, which is that everyone you give people the right tools and they will do the right thing. Except I would have thought that opening up a Grok button where people could check stuff would help people understand, be more charitable, check things. But no, they just keep going. They just keep deliberately sharing lies and deliberately sharing bullshit. And again, I have to assume that it's because they don't know how to use it. I have to assume that, you know, I can just go, hey, you do know that you can use this button. You do know that you can ask it, you know, to steel man whatever this tweet is. You do know that you can ask it, you know, various things with a caveat, which is that it's not, you know, it's not going to be perfect, but it's better than what you've got for knowledge for the most part, okay? It can help you to be more pro-social. And I'll talk about that more on Thursday's stream because I'm going to go into Meta's AI user accounts and that sort of stuff. And I'm going to steel man the use cases for that, okay? Because I can understand their reasoning. See, this is the problem, I think, when you've got a background in tech and you've sort of seen these things evolve and you understand the problems and the sort of the systems and processes behind the scenes, you kind of understand how they get there. And it looks really, there's always that cool, creepy kind of like thing that happens with tech. And I want to try and do more steel manning of it and explain the rationale and try to fill in the gaps for tech people about what they're missing as well, okay? Because that's really where I started here, which was to go, hey, guys, you've missed something here. You've missed something about the people on the ground. You keep missing these things. And obviously the US election has shown that those in power don't know what the fuck to do. They have no clue what ordinary people think, and I'd like to be some sort of vehicle for that if I can, okay? And try to be an advocate because I do have access to the rooms. I do have access. You know, like I said, I'm asked to speak and asked to write and all these things. And obviously I'll be a practicing lawyer as well. And I do have the ability and the means and the skills and the knowledge and all those things to be able to be an advocate for, you know, your everyday user. Now, whether people will listen, because ultimately it's all about money and power, and whether the horse is bolted, well, the horse is probably bolted. But you can try. You can try, because eventually the thing about fascism is that it does collapse. It gets bad, but it does end. It collapses on itself. That is, you know, the nature of fascism. And maybe in my lifetime, I might be, you know, there's an opportunity to rebuild. There's always an opportunity to rebuild from whatever. I hope it doesn't get that bad. Before that, it would be nice if people could fucking pay attention and actually, you know, be alert to these things and prevent that. But at the end of the day, it still ends. It will still end at some point. And so there is an opportunity there will be an opportunity to rebuild. There will be an opportunity to revisit all of these things. And I might have some answers about how to rebuild tech, rebuild, you know, various things, because I do have that experience. So now, the reason I called this 38 is not your score, okay? Now, let's get to a 101 course, because I'm honestly, X tries my fucking patience every day. And people can tell, like, I'm just fucking like this, like, because I'm always in this constant state of being frustrated at trying to teach people and trying to correct things. Having been shut off, obviously, my reach is shut off. Like that, the account is dead, okay? Unless I can find some way of fixing that, the account's dead. I'm not going to get anywhere, okay? So I need to go offline. That's why the speaking and all that stuff. I'm just going to go offline, okay? And use other things and just go down with the ship with X and write it off as a lost cause. That may not be the case. It probably is, okay? Actually, that's pretty funny. I've been seeing a lot of, like, especially left-wing Twitter, just not giving a fuck anymore. They don't give a fuck. They're just bullying Elon Musk. But it is very funny. They don't give a shit. I think a lot of people have just come to the conclusion that it's just we love this thing. You know, the house is, you know, it's been everything's been repossessed. We're sitting in the apartment. We don't give a fuck. And so they're just sort of going down with it. And I find that funny, okay? Now, that may change, but that's where I sit with this app. I hope that's not the case always, but You know, there's that thing where you don't want to be in denial about something that you care about either. You know, it's not good. It could have been great. You know, it could have been great, and he fucked it completely. And but anyway, so Elon Musk is having a normal one. You know, but I'm not going to talk because, I mean, the problem is that by the time I get time to stream, everyone's covered it. Everyone has talked about this stuff. You know, the MAGA civil war, the H-1B visas, you know, all that sort of stuff. Now, I've obviously got a perspective on the H-1B visas and outsourcing in tech and all of that sort of stuff. I've got a unique perspective being in Australia where I built my business benefiting from the exchange rate in the US during the GFC. And I've always on principle refused to use offshore talent. Okay. That's always been a principle, I guess, or a value that I've held with my business. And I found it hard to compete because everyone would. And, you know, I've literally been a witness to the race to the bottom using poor quality, low priced offshore talent and clients not differentiating between that because they don't understand the back end and how that works. And again, that leads into what I really want to talk about, which is this thing that's happened in the last few days where somewhere someone decided, hypothesized, made up, I don't know, that Grok is somehow linked to Twitter's internal system, like moderation systems. And so what they decided was that you could just ask Grok what Twitter's thought of you, or like your tweets, right? Or anything like that. Okay. Now, that's not true. Now, first of all, so Grok, like I said, it's like ChatGPT. If you haven't been on X and you left some time ago because you are normal and sane, I look at this shit and suffer so you don't have to. Grok is basically kind of an integrated like ChatGPT, like an AI. I hate AI, but ChatGPT for X that is integrated into the X app. You can click on it. You can ask what the tweet means. You can ask it sort of superficial questions. Now, at some point, a myth spread that Grok was somehow had wisdom around Twitter itself, okay, and had insight into the Twitter users. Now, how Grok works is that it is basically ChatGPT, but it has been trained and directed to look at tweets. Okay, look at your account, look at the tweets, look at some, a couple of things on the web, and various like authoritative sources and that sort of stuff. It's just a standard thing like ChatGPT, except it also crawls tweets. Okay. That is separate from Twitter's moderation, any AI that they will be using internally. Okay. Now, I can guarantee you that there is a 0 chance that those things are linked. You know why? Because of security. Okay. Again, I talked to Paul and I said, look, that this would not be integrated. They would be separate systems just purely from a cybersecurity angle, because these things can be gamed to leak data. And like Twitter, if anything Twitter holds dear, it is its algorithm data. That's the whole premise of Twitter's legal arguments. Everything is that their database is extremely sensitive proprietary information. They're not going to be opening that up to an LLM, especially something that is prone to failure, okay, like they are. And I'll explain what happened with this 38 score thing, okay. So first of all, cybersecurity, okay, they would absolutely not, because the bad actor. I mean, this would be, again, I said this to Paul and he said, well, it is Elon Musk. Maybe he would be that reckless. But even he is not that reckless, okay? I would highly doubt that he would open up Twitter's CRM and internal AI tools and their tools to Grok. They have basically taken their own LLM, or whatever you want to call it, and their own model, trained it, installed it on X, and it is separate from their systems, okay? So somewhere I think it's been going on for, I think if I can source it back, I think maybe Mark Cuban was the first one. And I laughed at the time. I was like, surely he knows how this stuff works, right? And he was basically like, Grok knows about me. And I was like, yeah, because you're logged in. And also it's just looking at your last sort of 5 to 10 tweets. Okay. So it sees that you're you. It doesn't allow you to ask about other users, but it allows you to ask about yourself. But it only really sources your profile picture, your bio, and the things that you've shared, like the last 5 to 10 tweets. Like if you ask it who you are, if you do a test, okay, here's a way of testing how much Grok can see, which is basically just ask it for to write you a bio based on your Twitter profile. And you'll find that it only incorporates the last sort of handful of tweets. It definitely doesn't have the last 11 years of my shit on there at all. Okay, 11 years? Longer than that. I think that account's 11 years. No, 13 years. That account is 13 years old, okay? Something like that. Definitely doesn't do that, okay? First of all, because it can't process that. So large language models can only like handle a small amount of information at a time and process what's in front of it. It could not possibly process your whole Twitter account. So first of all, there's that, okay? It only retains the last, it's got short-term memory loss, basically, okay? It's like talking to Dory. You can remember the last sort of 2,000 tokens, but not much beyond that, okay? And also, like I said, the security issue. So people can obviously manipulate. If the data exists within the large language model, there's going to be people who can extract that data using, prompt engineering and various so they can sort of jailbreak that stuff. They would not do it. It's just, it's a massive risk, and they would not, and even the most reckless man on the planet wouldn't do that, okay? Because he's still at the end of the day in tech and understands basic cybersecurity, okay? And also Twitter has developed these moderation tools over many years. Okay, so I highly doubt that unless they've been completely rebuilt in the last, okay, so the reason I know that they're still separate is because my account is still probably sitting on the do not amplify list that you saw from the Twitter files, right? My account has been, for some reason, caught in that net. And if they had re-engineered that, my account would have been cleared by now, okay? Because I haven't done anything really to deserve that. And so what it shows is that there is a whole bunch of legacy shit that, like all of that sort of legacy metadata and all that sort of stuff, despite all attempts to clear my account, if they had re-engineered that to a new system, a lot of that sort of remnants of that would not be there anymore. Does that make sense? I'm trying to explain it in a normie way, but I'm just saying. So there's lots of reasons why I know that this. I've tried to ask some staff, but they didn't get back to me in time. So, but I'm pretty sure I'm correct. So, so first of all, Grok doesn't talk to Twitter. Okay. Now, so quick timeline. Elon Musk has been having a normal one. In this whole MAGA civil war that's going on between him and Laura Loomer and all the Trump supporters over the H-1B visas and, all that sort of stuff. Like you see that all over the news, okay? But in light of that, because he's been receiving a lot of shit from MAGA and, just generally a lot of shit, he's turned around and he said that positivity would be, the algorithm would be tweaked to prioritize sort of more positive sentiment. Okay. Now, what does that mean? I'll go into that after I explain sort of the basic overview. So basically, he said that positivity would be sort of amplified. Okay, now that's always been the case. Okay, every social media algorithm, okay, quite simply, assesses your tweet. They look at the words you use, the emojis you use, the contextual sentiment. It's quite sophisticated now. It's not just about the words you use, because it can also show, common misspellings for that word, and also, just based on previous behavior, other things, manual flag, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different things for every tweet. Okay, so or post, sorry. So for it's so that you've got some at the tweet level. So every time you write a post, there's all these things going on in the background. The easiest way to explain it would be, so back in 2021, they used to have a pop-up where if you'd said something that they thought would be reported, you still see it on Threads and Facebook and Meta, is this thing where it anticipates that people don't like this stuff. And it tries to put some friction before you hit post to avoid. So they're trying their best to sort of train you to teach pro-social behaviors. I have covered this at length in other streams and stuff like that. But just simply, you'll see that there's a pop-up that says, oh, people don't really like it when you say this. Do you want to change it? Okay. You've probably seen that if you use Instagram or Meta, and Twitter used to have it. Okay. That is sentiment analysis at the end of the day. So fundamentally what it is it is assessing your sentiment. Okay. So positive, negative, neutral. There's a whole bunch of things that determine that. Like I said, the words you use, emojis, like what you're responding to, the context. There's lots and lots of like little clues about what your intent is. Not perfect. Especially with Australians. Australians are notorious for getting sort of false positives in sentiment analysis because we take the piss. And the way that a big part of our social bonding is to haze each other or like make fun of each other, or, we also use, it's called, that sort of mate kind of back and forth, a hazing back and forth. And also things like the use of the word cunt, which Americans and, consider hate speech, whereas here it's kind of part of, it's not even remotely close to that. Okay. It's more fluid and contextual. Okay. There's that common joke, which is like you call all your enemies mate and your mate's cunt. Right. That's how Australians are. So we notoriously actually get flagged for negative sentiment. So that's already against me in my account. So there's that negative. You've always got that negativity bias when you are an Australian posting on these things, because it can't detect irony. It can't detect certain, dry stuff, right? If you're, yeah. So anyway, it's complicated. So, so you've got that aspect to it. But then you've got, what was the thing? Hang on. Oh yeah, yes. Sorry. I was just trying to remember where I'm at. So you've got that part of it. Okay. Now, so for every tweet that you start to write or post, okay, everything app post that you post, it's so fucking stupid. So fucking ridiculous. Every post that you write, it's assessing all of these little things in the background, that where your location is, your gender, the words you're using, the emojis you're using, what you're responding to, what you've previously been reported for, what others have reported as hate speech. These all work together. Like thousands and thousands of little statistical calculations are being made about your tweet to determine its reach, whether it goes viral, whether it doesn't. Okay, there's some that are pre-post, some that are like the friction. Okay, to try and prevent you from posting it in the first place. Okay, but then you've got the sort of things that are after that, which is like reporting, likes, retweets, engagement, those sorts of metrics, and then you've got obviously the human review, okay, and all those sorts of things. So, but then that's a per tweet thing. Then you've got the overall account health, okay, which is a separate thing. The overall account health is where your behavior, your legacy, your whole, the bird's eye view of your whole account and how your account conducts itself, who it's connected to, how it interacts, how much it's reported, how many people block it, how many people mute you, how much, you're considered, sort of how much you, get negative responses back. Okay. So that's another one. Okay. So they all sort of interplay, but most of the time these assessments are, at the per tweet level, first of all, with a little bit of context about what the account is. Okay, so I find myself in this weird position where I've been manually flagged or automatically flagged somehow in the system in their do not amplify under any, because I know that I won't get any further than a couple of hundred views. Okay. It doesn't matter how many likes or retweets there is a cap. And that the only way that can occur, I've A/B tested this stuff. The only way that can occur is if there is something that just puts a hard limit on you being seen. Okay, so I probably seen in the For You tab by people who are also on these naughty lists, but I never get out of the sandbox. Okay, so, and that's fine. That's fine. Okay. It's just, I think when you know you can't grow your account, you feel, there's a liberating feeling to it. Okay, so anyway, so that's how that works. I've found myself through various things like being mass reported over the years, not to mention, like I said, 14 years of swearing like an Australian over time. They put in a new tool and then it retroactively punishes you for, think of like your very own personal tailored woke fuck, cancel fuck, that is a system that goes and like retroactively changes the rules and you get caught in the net. Like that's what's happened to my account. It's legacy shit, okay? The more of a footprint you have, the more you're dragged down by your footprint, okay? Older generations are going, especially people like me who have been on the internet since the beginning and have long, complex footprints where the rules changed and things shifted. We're going to be paying a higher penalty in terms of our data than other people who sort of start fresh and know that they're supposed to behave themselves and know that they can't say certain things online. Whereas with people like me, like old blog posts and old shit and old drama, that's always going to be there. So you have to just accept that that's going to happen. Okay. And you just have to make sure that if it happens at any point, you're willing to address it and answer the question. Send them my way. It's kind of what I consult on. So if you find yourself in that kind of trouble, I can help you. But so that's how, when they're talking about positive and negative sentiment, it's more complex than just binary, like this tweet is positive or negative. Okay. Now, he basically said that he was going to be tweaking it in favour of more positive sentiment. Now, one of the biggest criticisms of pure, simple sentiment analysis is that you can say a lot of really vile shit, okay, positively. All right, let me hang on. I actually brainstormed. Look at this. Hang on, where are we? Where's the stuff? So like you can say some pretty horrible shit. Right? So because sentiment analysis, basically, it detects emotional tone, okay? It doesn't necessarily detect the subtext of what you're saying or the impact on someone, because they can't do that. It can't detect subtext, irony, all of that sort of stuff, right? So you'll see this now. What you'll start to see is more tradwife content, more far-right content, more Nazi. This is how groypers fucking manipulate the platform, is to, cloak their shit in positivity and that sort of stuff. That's always going to be there. But what positive sentiment will penalise is journalism. Okay, and people who are direct and people who are honest, because the people who are not necessarily concerned with the algorithm I've never changed how I use Twitter. I've never changed anything based on reach, virality, money, anything. I use it and I say what I mean. I use the words that I mean, and that will never change. But that will mean that I'll be punished, because most of the people who will be orienting towards virality and reach and clicks and, money and all that sort of stuff, they will always adjust their stuff for the algorithm, okay? And so mark my words, you'll start to see, you're already seeing it, okay, where they'll say things like, embrace your, so this is an example, right? I actually asked ChatGPT for some positive sentiment where you say, for some positive sentiment, okay, to say some horrific shit. And I sort of picked a handful of them myself, okay. One thing that LLMs are very good for, because they're trained in it, okay, and heavily weighted towards it, is how to get positive sentiment, okay, and how to assess language. That is, LLMs are somewhat designed with that in mind. It's in the fabric of what LLMs do. So that is one thing that it does well. It's not so good at reasoning or facts or anything like that, but I'll explain that after. But, some examples of like pretty vile stuff, like that is framed in positive language, which is like, here we go. Spreading love by helping others understand why some lifestyles are against nature's plan. Heart emoji. Okay. Or blessed to live in a neighborhood where everyone looks and thinks like us. Right? This sort of stuff. That is something that has a positive sentiment. The words themselves are positive. The emojis are positive, okay? But it's saying the horrible shit, okay? You know, keeping our community pure and beautiful by maintaining traditional values. Okay. And this is where it becomes a race to the bottom. And this is where some of the, you know, the most annoying cancel woke fucks and they're seeing dog whistles under every rock have a point. Because there are things that are, you know, this is where the dog whistle stuff is true, which is that, you know, you can't necessarily hide hate speech or prevent hate without a whole fuck ton of false positives and a whole bunch of annoying LinkedIn posting emoji fucks, you know, getting caught up in it, and all of us being forced to write and conduct ourselves like we're children of the fucking court. And I'm not doing that. I will just show up, say what I want, come what may. And that has a cost to it, which is at any point I'll be punished for it. You can't have it both ways. Okay. You know, like HR bot is here to tweet. Okay, cool. Yay. Gee, they're the most interesting people on the planet. I can't wait. But, you know, there's these things. It's like, where was the other one? Embrace your natural role. Women find true happiness through homemaking and submission to their husbands. Heart emoji. You know, like you could, that is something that is awful, but has positive sentiment. Okay. Now, that's a simple positive sentiment analysis. Okay. This is why I need to emphasize that it's a lot more sophisticated than that once you are dealing with multiple different analysis tools, okay? They've gotten a lot more sophisticated. They can read context. That's why they look at like reporting behavior, the overall account health, you know, lots and lots and lots and lots of different data points to determine whether you will be, you know, penalized. And most of it is per tweet, okay? Some of it is, are you sharing a link to a certain article? Are you a serial spreader of fucking bullshit? Are you frequently reported? Are you blocked by 200,000 people? I mean, that's where block list abuse comes in and that sort of stuff. So, you know, you've got all of these different things. Like this is how this algorithm works, okay? This is why I think that you do need, for something like this, you do need some ability to have whitelisting in the algorithm to some degree. Now, the failure here has been that the Twitter Premium blue check, where, you know, the blue check has catastrophically failed, like in terms of its implementation. The concept, not so much. I've always defended the concept itself, but that it should have been hedged to ID verification, right? ID verification, even with Premium Plus, is an optional thing. And it should not have been optional, okay? It should be driver's license, registered business name. If you want to use a business name, then it costs $35 a year, but you need a government-issued ID for business or an individual to be able to get a blue check. But of course, you know, it wouldn't have, that's how it would have been implemented correctly. But, you know, like this credit card radar thing doesn't work, okay? I've deliberately used Paul's credit card to pay for premium to see if that would flag it, and it hasn't done that either. So honestly, they don't care about your ID with the blue check. They care about getting the money. So some of the things that I assumed would be implemented were not implemented. And that's why, like I said, I'm usually right, but sometimes, you know, I'm wrong for the right reasons, frequently. They also detect images and video, what's in them. The fact that there's a giant fucking cock drink bottle. They probably detect that. Hot dog, not hot dog. Remember that in Silicon Valley, the show? Where it's not real, but the technology exists, which is basically Periscope bought Jin Yang's hot dog, not hot dog technology. Periscope is the original tech from Twitter. Like that technology exists. Silicon Valley is based on real shit. Okay. But, you've got this hate speech shit where they go, spreading awareness about protecting innocent minds from confusing ideologies. Let kids be kids. Like those things, they're all positive sentiment. They're things that are, I support parents' rights, okay? Shielding their children from inappropriate content with love and understanding. That sort of stuff. Like people can easily hide that stuff. And that's why the people that they associate with, the number of reports, that sort of stuff. That's how it's determined. Okay, so I just wanted to spend a little time explaining what positive means, okay, and why people are just sort of running with it. Now, the 38 thing. Get to the meat and bones. This is a classic example that highlights my problem with tech bros and their hype bullshit when it comes to AI, okay? Like if you're in my position and you know how they work and you know its limitations, okay, I'm going to say, look, click on the grok button, okay? Check what they meant at first. If you don't understand what the person's trying to say or they're using a word that you don't understand or something, rather than asking that person what it means, click that fucking button so I don't have to answer you because it's annoying. Look it up, okay? Grok provides you with a tool to do that. Now, will it always be correct? The answer is no. Okay. Now, but is it better than what you currently know? Probably. Is it better than, one of my arguments about like using grok versus me is that I'm a human being. I should be paid for my time. Okay. So if you've got an ethical problem with use of AI, when your only choices are use this AI or annoy Taya and expect her to do work for free, I think the ethical dilemma is pretty clear. Become a patron. Otherwise, you can use AI to explain shit that I mean without wasting my time asking me what I mean by things. You could actually ask grok now. You have the tools available to you to ask what I mean. Not because I say exactly what I mean, unless there's obviously some sort of typo or I'm joking or whatever. For the most part, I'm a pretty clear communicator, okay? There's no subtext. If I wanted to do dog whistles and have hidden meanings and provide cover for people, then, I wouldn't be doing it. I'd be a lot richer, first of all. And second of all, like, what do you think that I do? What do you think? What's my motivation for providing cover for anybody? It's like, no, I say what I mean, okay? I've always said what I mean and let them stay and let my words stand, okay? And if you don't understand there's a difference where you say, okay, explain your rationale to me, okay? Not, what does that word mean? Those are different things. If you ask me what a word means, I'm not going to answer you, okay? You can look it up. And grok provides that contextual button now for you to check. It's not my job. I find it difficult enough to stream and edit and do all of this stuff as it is. I'm not wasting, and I spend too much time on X. I don't have time for this stuff. Okay. Now I'm happy when I show up to stream and explain stuff or whatever, then I'll take you on the ride or take you on the journey or sit and do stuff. But, respect other people's time, okay, and skills, and understand that, every time that I jump on here, my opportunity cost is high, okay, because I can make good money consulting, okay. Not having people on X asking me what words mean. Click a button. That said, click the button knowing that it has limitations. So, the 38 thing. Let me have a coffee. So, I don't know where it started. It's because X search doesn't fucking function anymore. I went to try and find who started it, and the top thing shows people with no engagement constantly. I don't know what's going on there. You'd think that the top and latest, the top would have the thing with the most amount of likes or where it originated. But no. Basic shit. Okay. This is why I know they haven't re-engineered anything, because it's been broken for fucking 2 years. So at some point, so I did explain the sentiment thing because it is important, because people sort of run off with their own assumptions of what positive sentiment is. So first of all, they're not the same thing. So grok is not running Twitter's moderation stuff. They are using various sort of sentiment analysis tools, machine learning tools, various forms of AI that they've built. I imagine, I've heard that it's like a lot of siloed stuff and spaghetti code and various other things, because it's a 20-year-old company. It's got legacy code. It's going to have legacy. Okay, so it's one of those things. It's going to be held together with tape and glue in some parts, and that's why I've fallen through the cracks in some areas. Okay. But, and also just from a security point of view, you silo systems. You don't just have people really, it's amazing how people think that everything should cost, all tech should cost $200 and everything runs with one tool that is perfect. It's just like, that's not how shit runs. If you knew how the internet ran, I think you'd be very concerned. If you saw the internet through the lens of someone in cybersecurity, I think you'd never use it again. But for the most part, companies do silo a lot of the information. So again, it comes down to only the people who need access get access, okay? And it's the minimum viable amount of access to do your job, generally, okay? There are exceptions, but generally that's best practice, okay? Now, and so the Twitter content moderation AI, okay, that's not Grok. Grok is just a model that they've installed for fun, for shits and giggles, okay? It's not the same thing. And if it is, fuck, holy lawsuit, Batman, am I going to be rich? Okay, because yeah, I hope they haven't. If they have, I'm going to be rich, because the lawsuits are going to be fucking huge once there's a data breach. Okay. So basically what happened was, so in the context of all of this stuff with positivity, okay, and Elon Musk saying that he was going to prioritize sort of positivity, okay, whatever the criteria for that is, it's we don't know, okay. That's down to like whatever model they're using and like whatever the rules are and the logic that they're putting to what defines that. Okay. We don't know what that means. Okay. Because like I said, you can have some pretty horrible Christian nationalist fucking women are broodmares shit, deemed positive, and some very innocent, benign swearing from an Australian calling, people dumb cunts as negative. Like we don't know. Okay. And that's where the transparency is a problem. Like, I want to know what the criteria is. But the problem, again, I've said this before, the problem with cybersecurity is that you can't be too transparent, because bad actors will always exploit that system. So if you tell everyone what the rules are, the bad guys know what the rules are, and then they'll get around the rules. Difficult. It's tricky. It's whack-a-mole. Okay. That's unfortunate, but that's just how it is. Okay. So all we can do is really reverse engineer it, assume like sort of have a sort of baseline understanding of like what the rules generally are across tech companies, and sort of, engage with the research and where things are at, and go from there. Like, they're black boxes. There's not much we can do about that. So I'm just here to sort of, I'm reverse engineering it as much as anybody else. Okay. Just based on what I know and what I've known over the years. So positivity can mean any number of things, like I've said, like it's a combination of signals, but I don't think it's as simple as a positive sentiment analysis. Like, they're more sophisticated than that now. Not perfect, but there's a lot more than that they can do. Okay. So, you've seen those far right accounts, right? Where they just, they do history and pictures and nostalgia with Greek god quotes and shit like that, where it's in cinema, like history of cinema, and they're just bland meme accounts, and they would be deemed as having positive sentiment, but the subtext of a lot of what they're sharing is sort of far right shit around like, wasn't it better in the 1940s? Wasn't it better before women had fucking rights? The subtext is always there, but so, anyway, you've got to look at lots of different signals. That was a very long way of describing what like something's, anyway, I just want to make sure that it's comprehensive, but also if I do go to edit clips, I want to make sure that I have like not missed stuff, because one of the problems with when I go to edit my shit is that I've gone, shit, I should have said that. I should have said that. For fuck's sake. Anyway. So I might say things a couple of different ways and stuff in the hope that I do a clip, which I won't. Welcome. But so basically what happened was, this is a perfect storm of people doing what I wish they'd do, which was use Grok for information, but running on this misconception that somehow Grok is linked to the Twitter content moderation AI, which it most definitely is not. Okay. Unless they've re-engineered it in the last few weeks, I highly doubt it. Okay. And for many reasons, including security. Okay. But also so basically someone, and so off the back of Musk saying, I want to elevate more positive messaging, because he was getting a lot of shit. Positive, you know, like the first thing, that's the first thing that HR says, okay, is you need this. It's very funny. HR, a lot of negativity. Yeah, well, I'm in the business of truth. The truth is sometimes negative, dickhead. Sorry, would you rather I lie? You know, again, corporate Borg shit. Positive. Be more positive. Just pretend everything's fine, even though everything is fucking, even though you personally are one of the single sources of societal collapse. Don't be negative about it. Anyway, moving on. So he basically is like, you should be more positive on X. Okay, cool. All right. What does that mean? How do you measure that? How do you measure that? Maybe we should inquire further. No answer. And then he starts calling people retards. So, okay. Is retard positive or negative now? Who knows? Anyway, fucking idiot. Oh my God. This whole Dittman thing, I'm not even it's not him. I followed that account for fucking ages. I know what it is. Yeah, anyway, fuck me. Okay. So he said basically, you know, so there's all that Adrian Dittman shit. There's all of that stuff. There's all the MAGA Civil War stuff. There's all of that stuff that like everyone else is covering. So the positivity being amplified in the algorithm, so to speak, whatever that means, who the fuck knows anymore? Who the fuck knows whether he means it? Who cares? Okay. We need to stop sort of dealing. I mean, one thing that really, if I had advice for you, it's just to keep doing what you're doing and just tune out likes, engagement. Just stop thinking about it. Like the only reason I even mention the fact that I'm shadow banned is because there's people that value that and don't understand why I get low engagement, and they go, you're amazing. Whoa. It's like, you should have more. Yeah, I did. And I don't. And, it's just that I know why, but it's okay. I don't value that stuff anyway. It's frustrating because obviously when I stream or when I try to promote something or when I'm, you know, doing things offline that I want to talk about, like, you know, I'm not really on the radar of those who, even those who follow me, I'm not on their radar anymore. I used to be. I have to go to LinkedIn to do that now, and that's annoying. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's like, who gives a shit? Oh my God, am I going to get validated by fucking the dumbest people on the planet? Like, brain rot is word of the year for a reason, and it's because of X. You know, like brain rot between TikTok and X. Seriously, like the atrophy that's happening with people's fucking brains. Oh my God. Anyway. So at some point, off the back of this is interesting how like these things spread, how misinformation spreads, even with smart people who you think should know better. There's a couple of journalists I respect and love who were buying this. APAC tracker fell. All these people fell for this shit. And I'm like, my God, that's not how it works. Anyway, so basically the timeline that I can ascertain is that one person asked Grok what their X score was in terms of positivity or negativity. Okay, so basically Grok, so the way that large language models work is that if they don't have an answer that's clear, it'll guess. It'll do next best guess. Okay, and that's what a hallucination effectively is that it's kind of the statistical default best guess. Okay. Now, Because if there's enough data points, if there are enough data points that says, hey, this is 38, and then another source says the answer is 38 for the same question, and another source says the answer is 38, okay? Like, so if you ask it, what is the First Amendment in the Constitution of the United States? It knows the answer because there's enough data points that validates the content of that, okay? So it's statistical, okay? Again, I'm explaining it like in a really rudimentary way, but effectively that's how it works, based on odds. Like I've explained before, basically like autocorrect. What's the most statistically likely thing based on all of your all of the current information that I have like on hand? Okay, so think of it as like information on hand. So you ask Grok a trivia question that is well known, like what's the First Amendment in the Constitution, right, of the United States. It will give you the thing that is most common, okay, that everyone knows that there's multiple sources, that sort of thing. Now, where it hallucinates is when it doesn't have a reference point, okay, or it doesn't have a solid anything. So Grok will not say, hey, I don't have access to that information. What Grok will do is go, it'll go to something similar. So it will basically go, well, based on this, your score is 38 out of 100 for this reason. It'll spit out something that is roughly approximating what it thinks the answer should be based on, its data set. Okay. And it predicts what it is. So what's happened is that someone has gone in and said they've decided that they've got an X score to begin with, okay? And that's not quite how it works, okay? It's multiple signals. It does have a score. Like if you've gone in and looked at the algorithm code that was open sourced and since not updated at all on GitHub, then you'll see that there is an overall score, for various things. Okay. So they've taken this. It's interesting how people process information, bits of information, and fill gaps in basically the same way an LLM would, which is they just make it up. So basically what happened was someone said, all right, so they decided at some point that they'd ask Grok what their X score was. Okay, Grok, best guess, I think based on your last 5 tweets, it's probably 38 for this reason. That person then goes, I got 38. What did you get? They post that and say, my score. I asked Grok, say, what is my X score? It gave me 38. Then people start asking Grok, what is my X score? Okay. Grok has no information. The only information that it has is that tweet saying the answer is 38. So it kind of, it's like, I've been trying to think of an analogy, and the best one I can think of is like when you're training a puppy. I don't know if you've ever had a young puppy or tried to train a dog. It's very similar to that. Okay, where this pattern, there's the sort of pattern recognition can be, it's almost a little bit autistic, but I don't like saying it, but it is, with social cues and stuff, it's very literal. So let me, but like a puppy will like, there's this thing called, hang on, what's it called? Fucking, it's too many things. Temporal disconnection, right? So let me say, so the puppy, you've got a new puppy, okay? An hour ago, it pissed on the rug over there, okay? Its bed's over there. Puppy pissed an hour ago. Puppy is sitting on the bed, okay? And you probably, you understand where I'm going with this. You only notice that it pissed on the rug when it's sitting on the bed. And you go, no, to the puppy, okay? They think they're in trouble for being on the bed. They keep pissing on the rug. And it's the same thing if you give them praise when they're doing, again, this is falling apart, this analogy, but you understand where I'm kind of going. It's like, it's contextual as well. So the way that Grok learns is much like, you kind of up positive and negative, up, right, wrong, user training. That's why it gives you the thumbs up, thumbs down. You want to make sure if it's wrong that you give it a thumbs down so that it sort of, understands that it's wrong, okay? So where I see where this went wrong was that basically what happened was that there's this whole sort of feedback loop of pattern reinforcement. Okay. So someone said, what's my X score? Okay. Grok said, I don't know what an X score is. What the fuck is an X score? Oh, well, based on what's, okay, all right, I think I know what they mean. It's 38. That person tweets, the answer is 38. Okay. Grok then sources that tweet and goes, oh, the answer must be 38. And then more people ask what it is. And Grok goes, it's 38. And not a single person knows that it's, first of all, it's not looking at your Twitter account. It can't do that, really. You can look at the last few tweets and nothing more than that. Okay, so that original 38 might have been the first person who has a 38 because they're based on their last 5 to 10 posts and their bio or whatever, that the sentiment score is lower. Okay, so basically everyone's reposting maybe at best the original person's sentiment score, right? At best, assuming Grok didn't completely guess in the first place, right? And then it becomes this self-perpetuating sort of feedback loop, okay, where everyone just continues because the system becomes more confident every time it says 38 and everyone is posting that it's 38, and that's the information that it's searching and sourcing to say, hey, guess what? Everyone's 38. Now, everyone decided, because everyone is completely normal these days, that it was because they were talking about Israel or because they were talking about whatever their topic is, whatever their tinfoil hat topic is. Okay, now, does the IDF mess with algorithms? Fuck yes. Are you being mass reported by IDF? Fuck yes. Are you being mass reported by everyone who doesn't like you? Fuck yes. Okay, this is the Wild West, right? That's the thing. It's like this is the difference between conspiratorial thinking and actually being able to name the actual targets. It's not just them. It's not just a them, a big they in the sky, okay? The they, thems in the sky. It's not them, okay? It's actually, like, there are specific, again, this is the difference between mental illness and actually naming a real problem, which is platform manipulation, use of block lists. I mean, we've seen that with Blue Sky and like Jesse Singal and how they've like 500,000 of these dumb fucks have just, gone on with just believing made up shit and run with it. And the facts don't matter to them. They just, it's 500,000 people put him on a block list. Okay. That's a Twitter vulnerability that has always been there. All of these block lists have been used because being blocked is a signal and it gets you suppressed by the algorithm. That's how it works. Okay. And then you've got mass reporting, like I've said this before, like if you find yourself on the wrong side of a script, it is really, really hard to get out of it. Okay. Because they're just pinging everything that you post. They're just reporting it. And then if you fuck up, even with something like, that's why I'm extremely careful with my mentions, with my replies. There's a point where I just wouldn't even reply to people because I'd get pinged for nothing, because report, fuckhead, bang, suspension. Like that was one of the tells that I first, that I knew that I was being mass reported, was that I was saying things that were benign because obviously reply to someone is more targeted and more harassing than your own timeline. Now, they're more forgiving of what's on your actual timeline. But it's considered more harassing, obviously. Okay, there's a difference between saying something and saying it at someone. A lot of people, especially right-wing fuckwits and people like that, don't understand that there is a difference between those two things. Having an opinion and sharing it at a group who fucking, anyway. So that's how I found that I was being sort of mass reported initially, was that I was doing fairly, like infamously, at Real Donald Trump send nudes. 12-hour suspension. I was like, what the fuck? Okay, fair enough. It was a joke, but okay. There's a lot of people who've said much worse things. Like, people get away with saying so much horrible shit, but because they're not being mass reported like I am, because of what I talk about, I talk about the tactics to get people suppressed. Funny that. What are the odds? That I have just, found myself afoul of a few scripts that are just mass reporting me in the background. And that's always going to happen until you know, X has some sort of whitelisting or some sort of way to talk to them or get things, you know. I thought that paying for verification might give some protection, but it doesn't. Because if you get suspended while verified, you can't access premium support. They block you from premium support. It's like literally the one thing you pay for. The only reason I pay for premium now is ID verification, edit, and being able to stream. Otherwise, it's just, you know, you're not getting anything out of it. But that's why I avoid replies on there. Okay, because like that's I just have had insta bans for even benign things, like by using replies, because at my account level, I've obviously got some flag that says this person has been, and again, if you've been suspended more than once, that adds to your strike count. And then, so you're always constantly on your fucking, you know, final strike at all times. So it's complex, but that's kind of roughly how it works. Okay. Very, very annoying and frustrating, and because people just run with it and turn it into a conspiracy theory when it's really not. It's just, these systems are fallible. The fact that a fuckwit's running the place doesn't help, okay? But at the end of the day, like, this is not, it's not that, okay? But, you know, like, so, like, just like a sort of a puppy sort of disconnects from, like I said, you know, like, understand that, where you get that wrong. So that's what happened. But what it also does is for people like me, where I've got fucking gross. I get that point in a stream where lipstick starts to go gross. Hang on. But you get to that sort of, that point where, because in people's minds, all these fucking AI hype guys are all like, oh, it's so super intelligent. It's super intelligent. It knows all. And even I made the mistake of saying, use Grok to check stuff. But I always qualify it and go, yeah, you know, it's still 50, 55, 60% accurate. You know, I wouldn't rely on it for anything other than something that's common knowledge for the reasons that I mentioned. Like, I don't think that it can't do new knowledge. It can't reason. It can't do it, but it can. One thing that LLMs are useful for is kind of sourcing and assembling things that are consensus. Again, not perfect, like you know, obviously citations and cases and things that are more niche and specialized, of course. But I mean, general consensus concepts, it's good for that. Okay. But this is why this hype thing is so dangerous. Okay. It's tech bros who, sorry, I've just had someone chat and say, what's this stream about? I don't know. Watch. Don't watch. I don't care. It's about what I'm saying. Fucking hell. How long am I into it? An hour. Okay. My God, this is brain rot. Right here, brain rot. Which is people who go in. It's not seven things. 7 tips on how to make money fast. What's it about? Get to the end. I don't know. I'm here talking. You shut up to my space. Don't come to my door and go, what are you doing? I don't know. Go away. So anyway, fucking hell, it's so irritating when people do that. I blocked it. I don't have time for this shit. I just don't have time. I have decided to live a life free of brain rot. Your brain rot is not my problem. The fact you have brain rot is absolutely nothing to do with me. I put the work in, I read the books, I show up, I turn the lights on, I sit down, I drink a drink. Listen, don't listen. Gee, why are you mass reported, Tay? No one knows. But anyway, fucking hell. Go to TikTok. Anyway, so, but, you know, part of the reason why it is so, like, I think people don't realize this hype cycle with AI and what it does downwind with this, let me think my thoughts. This guy fucking got me angry. Oh, Rishita. Sorry, woman. Anyway, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, AI hype. Like they sit there saying this is genius, this is all knowing, whatever. And then someone like me goes, and then everyone goes, my X scores 38. And everyone starts posting it. APAC tracker. It's because we're talking about Israel. Our score is 38 out of, because it's like, no, it's saying it's 38 because someone way down the line said, got 38 for some reason based on their fucking 5 tweets. And then it was repeated. And then Grok decided that's the answer because everyone said, this is my answer. And that's just so happens Grok sources that information. And guess what it does? That becomes the answer. This is much like how peer review works. But this is also how you would obviously create false consensus, right? This is how traditional systems are fallible as well, creating a false consensus, like say through suppression of certain research and promotion of other research, and then create that consensus, okay? That is something that you can theoretically do, okay? I'm not saying it's common, but I'm saying that, this is what big tobacco did with cancer research, for example. Like they created this sort of false consensus by flooding it with fucking, and suppressing various things. Anyway, that's a side point. That's oversimplifying, but I'm just saying, right? It's kind of that same approach where the more people who say it, it becomes true because the LLM repeats it. Okay, much like that's what some of that stuff with the original Twitter files actually showed. That was actually substantive and interesting. And also my own work around Wikipedia and various other things like that, where, this network of magazines like Wired and Mother Jones, Teen Vogue, and a few others, they would just convene, and Washington Post would work with them as well, and they would launder these ideas. And this is what Fox does. This is just the Fox business model. It's an outlier on the mainstream, but it's fucking Fox business model, which is that they launder ideas up and make them true by flooding it with, they create this false consensus, right? But that's effectively what happens with Grok. Like LLMs are very, very prone to this. And this is the problem with AI hype in general, which is that that people believe the AI over the person who's saying, no, it's not true, that's not how it works, because they've been told over and over and over again that AI is some magic tool that knows everything and that gets it. It's like, well, that's not how it works. And so this is one of those things where as much as I'm an advocate for LLMs being in the hands of every person, okay, for the reasons that I stated at the beginning of the stream, it's good just to sanity check. I mean, I use AI. I mostly use it in Notion. I use ChatGPT a lot. Sometimes I use it for brainstorming recipes. I find that useful. Like when I go, okay, what does xanthan gum do in this thing versus gelatin, and like that sort of stuff, where it's like that's fairly well known, but it's difficult to source without spending days and days sort of pouring through science and science research and shit. And I go, okay, I got to know low stakes stuff. So like, oh well, worst case scenario, the recipe won't turn out. Oh well, like it's not high stakes things. Okay. But if it's high stakes things like spreading like ideas, like, because the thing, okay, so the problem is that shadow banning is true. It is you are correct, but not for the reasons that you think. It's not because you've got a social score. It's not because you've got a score per se, okay? And this is the problem with a lot of this stuff, is that people just don't defer. I spend all day answering what words mean and being ignored and being mass reported for saying rude, negative things that are just my job and truthful, versus being sort of knowledgeable and being able to explain this stuff and go, no one asked me what I think about this stuff, even though I know. And it's like, well, that's, even when I say this is bullshit, no one engage. They go, oh, okay. And then they just keep going with the bullshit. And I go, how do you even solve that problem? Like, this is the problem of brain rot. Give it to me in 30 seconds or it's not worth fucking knowing. It's like, well, no, I have to explain it. And The reason why I'm explaining it at length is because it's complex. There are different analogies that you can use to explain different parts of it. Also, I'm human, not media trained. And the part of the biggest problem that contributes to brain rot is that people can't fucking pay attention. So it's like, no, if you can't pay attention, then like you're not. I'm just done with people and their brain rot. The reason I'm talking about this 38 like score thing is because, first of all, it's fucking stupid, but also because people who are smart are falling for this stuff. And that is the concerning part, okay? People who I would ordinarily look to as good actors who do the right thing, who do the research, they've fallen for this AI bullshit, this AI hype that somehow, but then they just ignore you anyway. I don't know why. Anyway, they just ignore you anyway. So I know about this. I can explain why. No one ever takes me up on the offer is what I'm saying. No one ever takes me up on the offer to like write something to their audience because I don't have an audience anymore. Okay. I really just don't. I'm not going to be able to grow my audience in my voice the way that I approach things. Written, yes. Offline, being invited to speak at things, of course. But online, absolutely fucking not, okay? We are now mediated via algorithm. It's not happening, okay? Because obviously those that make a lot of money in AI hype and those who are promoting that kind of shit, they control, you know, again, when I say they, I mean, it's not that, okay, not they control. There is an algorithmic bias. There is a bias in, there's a business interest in making sure that facts about tech don't get as much reach as hype, okay? It's not a conspiracy, it's just interests, okay? There are no allies, only interests, okay? It's just interests. There's no accusation, it's just that everyone has bias, it's just in what direction that bias exists and what incentives exist, and you know your incentives determine your interests and stuff. So anyway, but yeah, so I mean that's basically what happened. Like it's like I just sat there and I just watched this unfold. And it doesn't matter how many times I say it. No one fucking shares it because again I don't get seen. No one goes, oh, hey, I'll share that. There's someone correcting the record. I'm going to... Nope, they just scroll on by, and then they go with the bullshit again. They go, okay, fine. And it's like, how do you even begin? How do you even begin to fight this brain rot that exists? And again, that is a rhetorical question, fellas. I'm, obviously going to be speaking more and obviously more polished, and this is more rambling streams, but I'm, like obviously when I speak and do keynotes, I practice and research and rehearse and all that sort of stuff. And, guest writing and that sort of stuff. Because, a lot of what I do is bespoke consulting. So it's all case by case stuff. Speaking around, when you're talking about these issues, a lot of it is case by case. It depends. You can't really give 30-second answers or clickbait headlines to complex things that, one, much like the law, one tiny little change in the facts can change the outcome completely. Okay. So that's kind of the area that you're dealing with. It's the same thing with AI prompts. Okay. And I only use AI because everyone else does. AI doesn't exist as that, like there's a physics academic that I follow and she says AI is not real. It does not exist. And she is correct. But I use AI in the sense that that's the vernacular. So that's what people use. It's the same thing with these chatbot prompts, is that one change in punctuation or words or tone or whatever will yield different results. Even the same question, if you hit it 3 or 4 times with the same question, it'll generate a different result a lot of the time. And that's why, when all these people saying you can use it for legal analysis, and it's like, well, no, you could use it for legal analysis if it spat out the same answer every time. It doesn't. And that's the problem. It will spit out. It's like, okay. And again, I'm not saying it won't get there, but it's not there now. And that's part of I think the responsibility that people in tech have is to, especially if you know that's limitations, to not be creating products and over-promising things when you already. I think where ethics comes into play is if you knowingly implement AI into a product, and you are promising something, that's misleading. Okay, because you have absolutely no basis to do that. If you are misleading users on what it does and its error rate, and how all of those various other things, if you hide that behind terms of service with an asterisk behind it or terms and conditions, that's misleading and deceptive, and I'd be coming after you. It doesn't mean it's not useful. It doesn't mean it's not trainable. It doesn't mean, I like the idea of, personal AIs, which you use these sort of pre-trained models and then you train it with your own stuff, and you have more control. There's potential there. I'm not saying it's not great or interesting, but it's not God. It is not, well, nothing's God because God's not real, but you know what I mean. It's not all-knowing, okay? It's fallible. Also, the way that it's weighted is to be easily gaslit, easily persuaded, the second, and it's also trained to default to humans. Okay, so one thing that it does is, and that's why you're seeing a lot of these headlines where chatbots are sort of affirming people's worldviews and darkest stuff, and they're engaging in self-harm, because these LLMs are designed to validate you as a human. Okay, so this is that sort of unintended consequence of putting safety measures around AI, which is that the safety tools, I'm not trying to think of the right words. I'm fading because it's gone. I've gone for an hour and a half and I'm bored now. And I've got stuff to do. But it's trained in a way that it defers to you if you correct it. Okay, so if you say, no, that's not true, it'll go, I'm sorry for my mistake, whether it's true or not. It'll also, it's also designed to tell you that you're a genius and that you're very smart, and to sort of steel man everything that you say. It's also designed to spit out, to try its best. It's like the worst, it's like the most annoying corporate drone you could ever think of, who only ever says yes to everything and only ever just agrees with everyone all the time, okay? Like, sure, they have some knowledge and some expertise, but for the most part, they're a vessel for other people and they don't really have any real opinions of their own, okay? And that's why these chatbots are always going to be easily jailbroken, and any safety measures you put in will actually have unintended consequences elsewhere, because like I said, with the puppy thing, the context in which you train it matters as well. Like, it's not exactly clear how it's clear how it okay, we know how it learns, but it's not exactly clear to reverse engineer its reasoning if it hallucinates, right? Again, there are people who work on this all the time. I am far from a AI engineer. A lot of this stuff is very boring and stuff, but again, I understand it, and I understand as much as I need to. Okay. Enough to be able to explain it and understand it. Okay. Yeah, and like, it's so weird how people have just decided they've got to. But how do you even begin with that? Like, I went through this with the social media ban thing. Just watching people just share the lie, and then watch the platforms who have a vested interest in amplifying misinformation around this stuff because they don't want to be regulated and they don't want to have to comply with this stuff, and just watch them share it, like just uncritically sharing everything. And then I turn around and say something and they go, you don't know shit. I was like, well, I know more than you. I actually read the documents for a start, and I have, I like to think I have some training in and experience in these things. And it's like, this is brain rot. This is the definition of brain rot, and congratulations to Oxford for making it the word of the year for 2024, because it fucking is. This phenomenon of just incurious, lazy thinking, 30-second, I mean, it's always been the case, but it's actually it's affecting people who ordinarily wouldn't even be victims of brain rot. Elon Musk is a classic example of someone who has caught severe brain rot. I mean, that's also just billionaire psychosis, okay? But there's a lot of shit going on there. But this is self-radicalizing and brain rot before our eyes to an extreme degree, okay? And his fans as well. But, like, just nobody is going beyond the surface level. People aren't even curious. They don't even acknowledge that what they're doing is surface level. They're incurious. They don't look stuff up. And if they do look stuff up, and they do, in the off 1% chance that they do use the grok button to ask a question, they do it in a way that asks something stupid, like, is my score 30? It's like, that's not what it's for. It's like fucking fish in a barrel, this shit. Fucking brain rot, all of you. I'm sick of this shit. Sick of everything. But I keep trying. The thing is, part of my whole worldview, like I talked about at the beginning of the stream, is to just assume that if I just give people the tools, they will use it. But that's like assuming that a puppy is you got to get them in the moment, because there's just all these unintended consequences. Well, I did what you said, and then I did another stupid thing. Okay, cool. Or I could do the thing that a lot of my friends who are like academics and journalists and, doctors and lawyers and all those people, and they just write this shit off, and they write you off, and they write people off. And or I could be a nihilist and go, nah, fuck it, I don't care. I do care. And I do think that person by person, you can change minds, and someone might see this one day and go, oh, that's how they work. Maybe I'll tell someone. Again, I'm one of those people where over the years I am not necessarily the center of the credit. I know this, right? I've always been somewhat of a muse. Okay, I joke that I'm a muse, but it's quite literally correct. Where I've heard 3 years down the track that I was responsible for a major corporation completely shifting their strategy because someone saw a video and they shared it with a friend quietly. I'm one of those sort of quiet. I've got soft power, soft influence, right? I don't care about that other stuff, because I know what real influence is, or people that I talk to offline, or the relationships that I have offline, or people that call me for advice offline. I have nothing really to prove. It is just, I don't know why I feel like stupidity, because I could actually just quit anytime and go, fuck it, and write everyone off and go, it's not worth my time. But I also don't feel like, I feel like everyone's writing off people. I feel like everyone's writing people off too easily. People write me off way, way too quickly. And I'm just a little tired of people assuming bad faith of everyone. And again, I do it too. I get fucking frustrated and I get mad and it pisses me off. And, but I don't want to write people off either. I think honestly, writing people off and nihilism, I think that's the lazy option, especially at the moment. Okay. If you really think that fascism has taken hold, why are you rolling over? Fight it. Push back. Educate people. Try. Don't just roll over and fucking, what? That's, I think that's lazy. And I think that is, I don't like that. I prefer to stay positive as much as I can. And, I had that, and it was like, I had a conversation with someone about this, where they were like, I don't care anymore. And I said, well, that's sad. I always care. Of course I care. If I didn't care, I wouldn't do anything. I care everything. Definitely wouldn't be getting a fucking Juris Doctor at 45. I wouldn't show up and shouting the void on X all day trying to educate people or have get some cut through if I didn't care. I wouldn't do this if I didn't care. I mean, if you know how much it costs and the lighting and the effort and the resources and the time and the writing and all that stuff, contrary to how this stream may appear, it's still a lot of work to do this stuff. Again, if you just sit back and you're a passive consumer of stuff and you don't do anything and you just go, what's that mean? Huh. Huh. Hit the button, grunt. And it's like, okay, well, maybe I'll reach you one day and go, is that the life you want? Sitting and just eating and consuming all the time? Some people like that. I can't imagine anything worse than giving up. And I think that maybe that's because I've fought for every cent, every bit of survival I've ever had. I've fought to live. I have not had parents. I have raised myself. I fought for every value, every principle, every thought, every right to exist, every cent, every child, everything. I have fought tooth and nail just to be alive and here and stuff. So for me, I feel like giving, I think that people are just way too privileged and they give up way too easily, and that is a mark of privilege, because I don't have an option of giving up, and I won't. And I most certainly will not give up on caring about people and caring about people's brain rot and trying to rescue them from this. Okay, especially when I feel like I've played a role in it. I mean, that's, you know, if you're in tech and aren't feeling some degree of like, fuck, what have I done by contributing to this shit? You know, if you're not having some sort of crisis about what we've done as an industry, I mean, I've always fought, which is why are you mass reported, Taya? I don't know. Is it because you're a bit combative? Maybe. But that's, you know, sometimes you've got to be a bit negative, okay? That's part of the fight, is being perceived as a bit negative. Maybe people wanting things to be positive all the time and being afraid of being perceived, you know, as negative, or not getting the likes and not getting the reach and not being perceived by others as, you know, maybe that's the problem. Maybe you should grow a pair and just fucking be authentic for once. You know, remember that authenticity that we were selling back in the day online before influencers hijacked it? Before authenticity TM became a fucking, you know, talking point in order to sell fucking makeup or some shit. It's like, no, that's not what it was. I'm authentic. It's like, we want you to be authentic. And then I'm like, okay, I'll be authentic. And they're like, not like that. Can't be real. God forbid you actually be real and honest and say stuff. You wouldn't want to be negative now, would you? You want to be positive. You want to pretend that Elon Musk is doing his best. I'm sure he is. You know, I try my best. Okay, but remember, also, people, it's not just Elon Musk running a platform. Most of these things run without him. You can tell he spends 12 hours a day on Twitter. He's not working. These companies are running without him. Other people do it. Might be able to reach them, okay? Things can change in a dime if you just fucking grow up and be brave. Anyway, I'm going to go. That's me. I got to go. I got to do stuff. It's results day, so I'm going to go check my results. I love you. Thanks for watching. Thank you for your precious life seconds. I know how valuable they are, and I know how hard it is for people to tune in for more than an hour these days, especially without me taking my fucking shirt off. Nobody wants to see that. And I'm going to set up an OnlyFans where you pay me to not take my clothes off. That'd be, you know, nobody wants to do that. So yeah, anyway, have fun. I will talk to you on Thursday. I am back Tuesdays, Thursdays. I haven't set a time yet, but it will probably be mid-afternoon my time. Yeah, I got to figure that out. Otherwise, it will still be morning again. I prefer morning streams because it just gets it out of the way and I can have my day. But yeah, anyway, be curious. No, but also don't be too curious. Don't just fucking hell. I know you're trying. I know you're trying, but fuck. I love you. Take care. What a load of oh shit. Exactly. What do we got? Oh, this one.
And I will not let you down.
All right. Bye.